The Mannin Line, daily interaction, debate and exchange of ideas. Broadcast on Manx Radio.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. We're open line today through till 1 o'clock. Text 166 177, WhatsApp 166 177, or email studio@manxradio.com. Call 66 13 68, whatever it is you want to talk about, then by all means get in touch. Richard said, Andy, the bins are overflowing on Douglas Promenade as well, and it looks a right mess, so presumably they're getting around. That was just a couple of minutes ago. So is it true? Have they emptied all the bins yet? And this is the time when all the people who are moaning about it being a fortnightly bin collection in Douglas, this is the time everybody warned about, when we're getting to 20 Celsius all the time. And they reckon it would lead to an invasion of longtails. I've not seen any, I'll be honest with you, I've not seen any longtails around the bins at the moment. Not that I go hunting for them, but, you know, you do usually notice. But if this weather is causing those problems, then do get in touch, would you? And a mention, let's have a look here. I've noticed since you upgraded to DAB, a lot of news items and pre-recordings are repeating the first one or two lines of the recording. Is there any reason for this, or is it because you've upgraded to DAB? Well, thank you for that. It's anonymous on 032. I wasn't aware of that, but by all means, if you want to get in touch with our engineering department, then please, by all means, do. Obviously, the DAB at the moment is purely a test, and we've extended it to our friends at Energy FM, who are on there as well. We offered it to 3FM, but they didn't want to join the party. But just tell us, we'd like some reports of reception as well, if you're getting DAB or if you're getting intermittent DAB. It's kind of there or not there. It does tend to be in digital. It doesn't fade like AM does. It's either there or not. But we'd like to know, and particularly any comments regarding DAB, please, by all means, do get in touch. Lots of messages across the weekend also about Radio TT. Here's one of them. Just says, Michael said, I'd like to comment on the TT commentary, specifically Friday 9th. There was a 45-minute delay from an overhanging branch to be removed because of this, and instead of using the time to speak to riders, their helpers and managers, especially the lower order riders, the decision was made to return to the studio, and they played requests. Granted, these were mostly from spectators, but I didn't think it was a good decision. I'm sure most people around the course would agree. On the other subject, congratulations to the court for fining the drone operator £3,000 and destroying his gear. I hope the people caught walking on the course were dealt with in a similar manner. I've not heard anything about the people who went wandering on why would you do that? Wandering on the course, but certainly that £3,000 will send out a message and destroying the gear. Presumably that person has now paid up, although I think he wasn't going to be released from custody until he had paid up. But there we are. That drone. Just one thing regarding Radio TT, by the way, and we've had comments about Radio TT and how it was structured and what have you. The race commentary was a format agreed with by the motorsport department, the motorsport bit of the Department for Enterprise. Now, they own the TT races, so they decided what format the commentary was going to be in. So if you've got any comments regarding the commentary or anything like that, then by all means do get in touch with Manx Radio. We'll pass them on to the Department for Enterprise. And possibly in a couple of weeks' time, when Tim Johnson's on with Mark Lewin from Enterprise, we'll hear exactly what's happened with the TT and exactly what sort of success it's been. And I think, am I speaking out of turn if I say success it was? I mean, crikey, it was fun. Let's face it, the weather helped an awful lot, didn't it? I mean, the weather couldn't have done us any more favours over the 2 weeks. TT, of course, is over for another year. Steam Packet says bookings are flowing in for next year already. Thousands of people travelled to the island over the fortnight to witness the racing event. And here's the Steam Packet Managing Director, Brian Thompson.
What we are seeing is the number of motorcycles has reduced, but we're seeing an increase in cars and vans. So our theory is that more people are bringing their motorcycle in the back of a van, and that would sort of measure up for what we're seeing on the roads. There still is plenty of bikes around, but our numbers for bringing them over is slightly down. We're pleased with that because we did expect the cost of living crisis and other factors to affect that, but so far it's been quite a successful TT. We are seeing more last minute bookings because we've had some availability, and that may be a trend that you could attribute to the cost of living. People have maybe realised they've got more money than they thought they would, so they've spent it and coming to their favourite motorsport event. And as I say, for next year it's looking very healthy.
Have we started seeing bookings for next year?
Yeah, bookings for next year are very healthy, exactly what we'd expect them to be around this time. So we are, given the fantastic weather, so the passenger numbers are pretty much the same as they were last year. As I said, there's a 1% difference. Motorcycles are down, but vans and cars are up, so I think they measure each other out. So really, I think between 2023 and 2022 there really isn't much difference for us.
It shows we're opening up for tourism more.
Yeah, we are. We're bringing the Manxman. Should be in service for next TT, if not long before. So we are confident that there'll be a huge number of opportunities for visitors to come to the island as long as the accommodation's there for them.
You mentioned the Manxman. Can I ask, so how excited is the Steam Packet company to have it over?
Yeah, I think because most of the crew that are on the Manxman, they are feeding back to everyone. We're excited about the facilities on board, just this higher standard that passengers are going to experience when they get on board. So yeah, there's a huge excitement in the company, but of course we need to get her here, we need to get everyone trained, we need to make sure everything's safe, and then we need to get into operation and the public can enjoy her.
Everything's still on track?
Absolutely, yep. You can track it on our social media. The captain's updates are there as well on the blog. So yeah, if people are interested, they can follow the progress.
Well, have you spotted where the Manxman is at the moment? You can go, I think, via their blog just to see where she is. At the moment, heading for the Suez Canal. She's in the Gulf at the moment, just off Saudi Arabia, heading up towards the Suez Canal, and obviously once through the Suez Canal we'll be into the Mediterranean, and thereby you can say really on the way home once she's through the Mediterranean past the Straits of Gibraltar, and then she'll be on her way to Southampton to get fitted out, the last fitting out before she heads to the Isle of Man. As yet we don't quite know where the first sailing is going to be, or when we can get, everybody's dying to get aboard just to see what she's going to be. We've seen all the photos, we've heard all the kind of references from the people who are on board about what she's like. Well, we'll see what happens. More messages in just regarding last week we were talking about green energy and exactly where we go with green energy, and the fact that we don't seem to be getting anywhere at the moment, in that the government has of course there are no firm plans for onshore and our own offshore wind, also for solar panels, aside of the fact that the Peel Group want to put a big solar farm by Belawn, huge solar farm by Belawn. They also want to put their own medicinal cannabis factory up by the Cool Road by Fort North with lots of solar panels on that. So we'll see what happens there. At the moment, nothing in the way of eco-friendly electricity on the Isle of Man. At the moment, the vast majority of our electricity comes from the gas-fired power station that we have at Pulrose. So, what do we do? And a lady just said she's been trying to get through to Isle of Man Energy to pay a bill. Been on there for 30 minutes and still no answer, and has run up a £10 bill on her mobile for that. If you're trying to get through to Manx Gas today, are you getting through okay? Juan's on there. You're not trying to call Manx Gas, are you, Juan?
Oh, I give up on that, Andy. Give up on that. What a good week it's been, hasn't it? It's been an absolutely fantastic week.
Everybody's saying that the new format for the TT works, but of course we've had nothing but brilliant weather, so we don't really know if it has worked because we haven't had any typical TT weather.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think doing it on the free weekend slot is obviously, you can see what they're trying to do from a business format, and people can't stay any longer now they can't stay for the traditional week or 2 weeks because it's so expensive. I think that kind of worked. I thought the Red Arrows were on an EasyJet schedule then because they were late coming in the other night. I thought they were coming in from Gatwick. It might not have got here.
Somebody said they thought they'd taken the turning for the Isle of Wight.
Yes, they got us confused. So I was just listening to just going on from what you were saying before that, really, listening to the opinion programme yesterday, Phil the Man Gordon's opinion programme yesterday, where he had the Green Goddess on, Daphne Kane, and Joni Farragher, who I think is going to be the new stunt double for the Green Goddess by the sounds of things there. The story rattles on, doesn't it, for the green agenda, and I could drill down into it quite a lot more, but there was two things that I picked up on there that Joni Farragher said when talking about climate change and what we have to do, and she mentioned the word risky. So what does that mean in an ordinary world then, Andy? Risky. It's going to be risky to do this. What does that mean then? Well,
it means that if it goes wrong, there's the risk of something going wrong and there'll be consequences.
Yes. So the risk of them doing all this stuff and spending all our money and it going wrong is risky. Is that what I take that to be?
I don't know. What do you think she meant?
I don't know. Well, here's another one from Daphne. Here's another one. The base load, which is, that's a question I've been asking for a while. The base load has been exercising us. What does that mean in a normal world then? Exercising us.
Giving us trouble.
Yeah, giving about as much trouble as what Daphne is. This whole thing is still rattling on and it's rolling on, and I'd love to know how much Ofsted has spent on the absolute blistering of publicity around bushes this year.
Do you think maybe they thought we wouldn't notice what it was about?
Yeah.
Suddenly, whereas Ofsted have never had a thing to do with, apart from an office in Douglas with a couple of people in it, they suddenly think that we won't quite see why they're spending all this money in the Bushes tent in anticipation of their massive wind farm. Oh, crikey.
Absolutely blistered. Absolutely. The cost of the advertising there must have been phenomenal. And again, let's follow the money down the trail. And of course, we've got the electric bus running around, proudly virtual signalling, as John Wannenberger said. Obviously, sending a message to the people who hear from all the rest of the world that we're going to do this, that, and the other. There must have been some kind of signal in there. But I had a text message from a bus driver the other day, and I asked the question: how's the situation with the battery life on the double-decker bus? And the words I got back was horrendous. So that was from a bus driver. So there you go.
Well, presumably this isn't costing us anything, because if people want to sell you something, they give you it on a free trial. So let's assume that it's costing us nothing, that the manufacturers have paid for the steam packet to bring it to the Isle of Man, and we've got it free in the meantime. If it is a free trial, then you can say, well, that's fine. The only thing it's going to cost us is the personnel hours for driving the darn thing.
I would love to assume, but in this day and age, assume makes an ass out of you and me, doesn't it? I don't assume anything anymore the way things are going.
Well, if somebody's trying to sell you something worth £500,000, surely they'd give you a free trial.
surely they would. But I would love to double down on that just to check that out. And I think the other little thing there, Daphne mentioned about. Well, Phil mentioned about the conspiracy theorists who are saying that there's no climate change, etc. And she mentioned 80 scientists who've said that climate change is real. So I suppose in 7.888 million people on the planet, 80 scientists is a lot, isn't it? But they failed to mention the 180 that are on the other side of the coin that's given the facts from the other side.
You see, in the middle of this, Juan, we've got there are ordinary people who just want to live their lives.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we've got climate change advocates and we've got climate change deniers in the mid, and they take positions of varying sort of vehemence about. But in the middle, you have people who are just trying to live and just pay their way throughout life. They're the people who are getting squeezed in the middle of this. The people who, quite frankly, don't care whether they get on a diesel bus or an electric bus or one powered by hydrogen. They just want to get home. The people who just want to turn the lights on and make sure the fridge works, they don't really care where their electricity comes from. And, they're having this put upon them and, almost guilt-tripping, saying, well, if you're using fossil fuel electricity, this is all your fault. And I don't know that they agree.
And I just want to come back on that point there that you made about climate deniers. There's people who realise that there is climate change, and we had this point about vaccine deniers. There's people who know that there's climate change. I think what is being said is what we're going to do, is that going to change it? Is it just a natural spur in life? Remember that in Roman times they were growing grapes in Scotland, and there's they keep going on about historical data of weather. I mean, historical data's been 60 years, Andy? I mean, they failed to recognise the rest of history. Yeah. And this seems to be an issue. They just select what they want to select. People know that there's change in the climate, but I think where this seems to be heading is more down the road of control and compliance more than anything else.
Lots of people mention that, as you say, that this isn't about climate goals, it's about government and corporate control over the economy, if you like, and what we'll tentatively call the non-elite population.
Yeah, and of course, going down to the airlines now, and they're going to try and limit airline flights and stuff, but these airlines, to get bailed out from the COVID scenario, had to sign into a lot of these agreements to follow through with these agendas. So again, we're following the power and following the money again, and your companies like BlackRock and all that, and Soros Foundation, who have got obscene power over people, have nurtured they've coerced these people into doing this stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting times.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm all for everything being a lot cleaner. I'm all for absolutely no pollution in the ocean and things like that. I don't think anybody's against, I don't think anybody's for putting plastic in the ocean because it doesn't do anybody any good. But we have to decide what we decide upon. And one of the questions I've yet to get a real answer is, who's going to decide when it's all over? Who's going to decide when everything is fine? Who's going to say? Because we were told back in the 1960s that oil would be gone in 10 years. In the 70s, we were told there'd be another ice age. In the 1980s, we were told that acid rain was going to destroy all the crops in 10 years. We were told in the 1990s the ozone layer would be destroyed. In 2000, the Y2K, we were threatened that the Y2K bug would destroy the financial system. In the 2000s, we were told all the ice caps would be gone in 10 years. Now we're in a climate change emergency. Who decides when it's over?
And more wants more. When you get a group that gets power, more wants more. That's human nature. So they will never. It will never stop because the group will carry on and on and on and on. And I think I spoke before about Al Gore, who was a big player in America about climate change, and the man had a $1 million fortune before he became a climate czar and a $300 million.
And I think this is the important thing that. and I think I mentioned it to Daphne Kane last time she was on, is it only rich people that can be green? Is it only rich people that can actually afford to be green? Because I don't see any evidence of it filtering down to, suddenly if they said all this is going to be free, absolutely free insulation, free heat source pumps, free solar panels, everybody gets it, and you'll be paying 10p a unit for your electricity. If suddenly that was the agenda, then you get mass buy-in from the population. At the moment, all people can see is a big bill.
And this brings me to the point of what Joni Farragher is saying now. Joni really, I think, should be stepping into the Green Party than the Labour Party. I mean, the people who she's supposed to be supporting, it's going to cost them an absolute fortune, because of what you've just said there, it's wealthy people that are going to be able to buy their way out of this.
Why do you say Joni Farragher shouldn't be in... I mean, she's the leader of the Manx Labour Party. Why do you say she shouldn't be in the Labour Party?
Well, is that Labour values that she's putting through? I mean, she's supposed to be for the working class person, and yet this whole green agenda that she's pushing, and she quite rightly, well, she said in her last interview with you that the Labour Party had nailed their mast to the colours as far as the green agenda was concerned. So surely that means that it's going to cost the people who voted her in as a Labour representative a lot of money in the future. So is she just attached to the Labour Party because she knew she wasn't going to get voted in with the Green Party? I don't know.
Interesting. All right, thanks, Ewan.
Cheers, Andy.
All right, good to talk to you. And Ken's with us now on Mannin Line. Hi, Ken.
Hi, good afternoon, Andy. Just thought I'd put my 2 pence in about the RTT.
Yeah.
I think it was absolutely brilliant. It was wonderful for visitors and people in business over here. Probably made a fortune out of it in different areas and what have you. And the visitors I've bumped into and spoke to, they love it over here. As you know, they're pre-booking for next year in the steam packet. Possibly we'll have 4 boats next year. I don't know, maybe wrong. But people that are complaining about the TT, well, all I've got to say is, right, get off the Isle of Man if you don't like it. Just get off. Because the Isle of Man TT is part of our economy now, and for God's sake, I hope it'll never go away.
And it's part of our culture, Ken. I mean, culture isn't just, ancient books and scribes and crosses and what have you. This has been with us over 100 years.
Well, quite right. It's Le Mans in France, you know what I mean, and other big race venues and what have you, But as I said, it was a fantastic spectacle, and just a quick quip now. Is any of the commentaries available on podcast?
Yes, I do believe there are. I'll find out for certain, but I'm sure they are, because we do keep the archive.
Yes, I would like to just sit back sometime and have a listen to it again and what have you. And also about the commentaries, there are people from Manx Radio and other maybe, I think, TT Stars, I think the ladies and what have you. I think it was very good, very well done. I've got nothing else to add to that, but well done. So the commentaries were nice and etc. Very informative. They done their best. And are we going to get a new scoreboard for next year, Andy?
That's
a big one for me, boy.
That's the $1 million.
That's a big one for me.
All right, thanks, Ken. Good to hear from you. Here's Julian now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Anne. How are you doing?
Good. How was your TT, by the way?
Very good, yeah. The weather was definitely blessed us.
I can't believe it. I'm trying to think. They reckon it was 2008 the last time it was like that.
Yeah. I totally agree with your previous caller, and actually I agree with everything that Ewan has said as well. And it's part of our culture, and it seems that a lot of things to do with culture are sort of on the attack at the moment, so interesting.
And as well, have you been to see the TT exhibition at the museum yet?
I haven't actually. I will go if it's still... how long's it on till?
Oh, it's on for ages, yeah. So it's absolutely fantastic. And apparently the Birchall, they've got a special woman, not a special woman, but a woman who's a specialist in London who does their mannequins. And apparently the Birchall brothers stood stock still when they looked at the mannequins representing the Birchall brothers, because it's exactly the way the Birchall brothers are in the sidecar.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely make a trip up to see that. I'm actually ringing in about a subject, but just quickly, I listened to Perspective yesterday as well. Something I picked up on, Daphne Kane was talking about the Isle of Man being uninvestable if we don't go along with these green initiatives, which sounds suspiciously like what we've talked about before, this ESG, the environmental, social and corporate governance thing that BlackRock and the World Economic Forum and the United Nations are pushing at the moment. It's interesting that a video's come to surface from Larry Fink, who's the CEO of BlackRock, in 2017, where he was discussing how to change corporate behaviour through ESG. It makes me wonder if our government's under the cosh a bit with this ESG.
Well, I think that because we've got international companies based here, people that are have got branches all over the world, some that are headquartered in other countries, that they are signed up to ESG, and you quite rightly say, apparently, if we're seen to be a weak link in the chain, then we could lose the business over here. Because having said that, I think we do very well. We're the only biosphere that's a nation around the world, so I can't see how we're lagging behind as it stands.
No, and also I wonder if our biosphere will be maintained if we've got an industrialisation of the Isle of Man with 59 plus 350-foot high concrete structures all over the place. I don't know how the biosphere thing will work with that.
Well, I think on the subject of Kroger, apparently the biosphere will remain intact if Kroger start extracting gas. I think they've researched that.
Yeah, well, it's all under the surface, isn't it? Nobody will see anything, which is one of the good things. Which kind of brings me to what I was going to mention, which is it's a combination of mining on the Isle of Man and somewhere else. A happy accident in Sneatonthorpe near Whitby, North Yorkshire. And whilst they were searching for oil there, the sediment that was being pumped up as they were mining revealed a huge 70-metre thick by 62,000-acre seam of polyhalite, which is a nutrient-rich natural fertiliser, which was particularly rich in magnesium, potassium, calcium and sulphur. And using the modern drilling techniques adapted from tunnel boring machines, a shaft boring road header, or SBR, which doesn't require any workers or explosives, is being used. It's automatically lining the inside of the mine as it digs, grouts and lines the walls of the shaft. And it's in a national park, and it's known as the Woodsmith Project. And to keep it all nice under the park, they've tunnelled horizontally a 34-kilometre tunnel that uses conveyor belts to transport 20 million tonnes of this fertiliser every year, and they say that the seam will be good for 100 years and will include polyhalite, potash and something called poly-4.
When did this happen?
Ground, which will go directly to the harbour on the conveyor belts for shipping.
When did it happen?
It's actually working now. They've got it going now.
Oh, is it?
The resulting product is called Poly-4, number 4. And if you have a look at poly4.com, you'll see exactly what that stuff is. And also, to compensate for their initial works, even though it's underground, 20,000 extra acres of woodland has been planted in the national park. And the Woodsmith Project is expected to contribute at least £100 billion to the British economy, possibly much more given the volatility of fertiliser markets these days. I'm just thinking, shouldn't the Isle of Man be looking at this UK source of natural fertiliser? And it's only 137 miles away from Haitian Port.
My word, I wonder.
And it's going to be cheaper. You're going to have a lower carbon footprint because you haven't got to get it shipped from who knows where.
Well, the cost of fertiliser's just flown through the roof, so this is going to be a very popular find. It'll be very good for their economy, certainly.
The other side of this is something you said the other day got me thinking, because you mentioned mining on the island.
Oh, yes.
Look at that.
Yeah, you used to be very big.
Yeah, well, Foxdale mining yielded silver, lead and more zinc than all of England put together. North and South Bradder in Port Erin yielded large amounts of copper. Ballajora's Drynane mine in Mackle produced massive amounts of copper, iron and hematite. Ballacorkish and Colby did silver and lead. Dalby is particularly rich in lead, zinc, copper and iron. And they were prospecting for copper at Langness, Spanish Head and Craignish. Laxey and Snaefell have been good for copper, lead and zinc. But the old documents indicate that the mines were closed, not because they were worked out, but imports from Spain and Australia had become cheap by the early 20th century.
Yeah, they were just priced out of the market, apparently.
Yeah, but fast forward to now, even since the 2000s, let alone the early 1900s, zinc has gone up 250%, lead's up 400%, copper's up 455%, and silver's up 500%. Are we missing a trick here?
Can you imagine the conundrum, Julian, if somebody happened to send a probe down the mine at Foxdale or down at Laxey? Can you imagine, and I'm not suggesting they will or they would, but you imagine if they hit lithium, what would happen?
Well, yeah. Well, it's interesting. There's an interesting website, Puma Exploration, explorationpuma.com. And in their properties section on the website, it states that all of Atlantic Canada's gold deposits are located within the Iapetus suture, which is also the one that passes through the island at Niarble and then carries on through under Foxdale, where we've been mining, and Laxey, all the way through Ballajora and then up to towards England.
Imagine what we could be sitting on.
Well, it's the same. It's the other side of the Atlantic, but it's the same uplift. It's the same rupture. It makes you wonder, with the prices that have gone through the roof for all these elements and minerals, we might be sitting on an absolute mine, a gold mine, you might say.
All right, gotta go. Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. I want to go to Val, who's with us now. Hi, Val.
Hello there. I just wanted to say what a fantastic TT it was. Obviously, the weather helped, and the racing was superb, with lots of, new records for the laps and for the actual races, etc. And I met lots of new people here. All had a fantastic time.
Do you think it was all about the weather, Val?
That certainly helped, but no, I actually think a lot of people, they've wanted to come here for years, and they just were blown away by the island, the sheer beauty of it, and the fact that you could get so close to the riders, for instance, like on Conquerbody, etc., and where you can get very close. And obviously the fact you can go around the paddock and you meet them all. Well, you can't do that anywhere else, and the fact it's free to go around the paddock. They just could not get over how great it was, and they all commented on how friendly and helpful people were. So it was not just the ones who live here, but obviously a lot of the ones who are visiting as well. But they said, nothing was too much trouble for everybody, and I think it was just great. And there's been, a lot of negativity on different things, but I just wanted, as a Manx person, to actually say how great it was.
Good.
And the ITV coverage, I only saw a few bits of it because I was out a lot, but that was tremendous, and what a great advert for the island as well, because it showed all locations, not just the race course. And, generally it came over how, good-humoured everybody was here, etc. They said there was lots of stuff on in the pubs and whatever, music, and obviously Bushies was great, it was packed, and sand racing and the Mordy-Doo Day, and I just think, to be honest with you, I constantly am saying to it, anything you didn't like, no, we loved it all. So I just feel people need to hear that. Okay?
Oh, I appreciate that, Val. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for waiting, by the way.
Yes. Sometimes there's some people who are on for quite a long time, aren't they?
Okay. All right, Val.
All
good
right.
to hear
Have
from
a
you,
good
mate.
day.
All right, it's 20 to 1 on Manx Radio. Text, email, call on WhatsApp. And yes, Julian was talking about the mines on the Isle of Man. They used to be big. 19th century, Isle of Man was enormous in terms of mining. As Julian mentioned, Dunane, Great Laxey, Great Snaefell, Macklehead, Ballajora as well. One of the big names, it's weird, if they'd been Mannin Line in the 19th century, we'd all know the name William Kitto. William Kitto was one of the big beasts on the Isle of Man, captain of the Foxdale mine. He was a JP, he was an MHK, director of the Isle of Man Railway, vice chairman of the Isle of Man steam packet, all built on mineral wealth on the Isle of Man. Can you imagine if we hit mineral wealth on the Isle of Man. If suddenly somebody said, all we need to do is go down there, couple of 3,000 feet, and there's going to be mineral wealth, what do you think would happen? Imagine the conundrum that we'd be faced, particularly if it was something that mankind needed. What do you think would happen then? How long do you think that would take to get through planning?
The Ginger Hall has it all. Whether you want a relaxing pub with a superb drink selection, fantastic food from the Manx Country Kitchen to eat in or take away, including bar baskets from 5 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and Sunday roasts from noon, to great live music, even event space, then you'll find it at the iconic Ginger Hall Hotel. For all the latest news, events and more, including Manx Country Kitchen's tasty menus, check out the Ginger Hall on social media. The Ginger Hall really does have it all.
How would you like to be remembered? Why not create a lasting memory by leaving a legacy donation to the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust? This would help our dedicated team to continue the restoration to save our historic landmark. Whether purchasing a personalised plaque, making a legacy donation, or requesting funeral donations in lieu of flowers, you will be remembered. To find out more, email qprt.net or visit us on Facebook. This audio has been kindly sponsored by Paul Carey and Sons.
These days, time is a precious commodity. It's difficult to balance work, life and play, but enjoying quality rest and relaxation is essential for our overall well-being. We need downtime, time for ourselves, time for stressless. At Millichaps of Ramsey, most stressless recliners come in multiple sizes, so you're sure to find the perfect fit. Relax your body, free your mind, and discover the ultimate in comfort in the stressless studio at Millichaps.
Do we need a bishop? Some might argue that as we fall into a pit of moral decline, there has never been a more important time to have the moral and spiritual guidance the bishop provides. Others would suggest that changes in society and community mean that organised religion is very much yesterday's news. With our current bishop stepping down this year, Joni Farragher MHK is hoping to gain Tynwald support to remove the bishop from Tynwald. Does she have a good case? Find out on Agenda this evening at 6 p.m. on Manx Radio with me, Phil Gaughan. Does Tynwald still need moral and spiritual guidance?
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
17 minutes before 1, Monday lunchtime. Tomorrow we're going to be live with the students of Castle Rushen High School. We'll find out what the 17 and 18-year-olds in the ancient capital of man have to say about their life and our life in general, and whether they like TT. John's with us now. Hi, John.
Oh, faster my, wouldn't you? I'm also somebody else trying to pick up the threads of life after 2 weeks of marshalling at the TT.
Oh, whereabouts were you marshalling, John?
Oh, Barrow Crossroads on DSM there.
Good. And everything went fine, I take it?
Yep. Such excellent people came along to marshal, and everyone was friendly and cooperative. One or two idiots, but the marshals, the spectators are most cooperative by and large. And we had it was hard work, but we had a wonderful time.
Good, but that wasn't why you called.
No, indeed. Yes, I briefly heard Joni Farragher and the climate goddess on the radio. Actually, while I was going around the pits as a last trip round, baseload ? You cannot produce. You've got to have a reliable energy source to produce the base load, and then you top it up with something else, and that is why she's whiffling about that, because there isn't any way of doing it with her beloved renewables. Anyway, that's the one thing. There's a fair bit about mental health at the moment, and trying to help people with mental health of various reasons. But the most despicable thing about mental health is the way that children are being brainwashed with climate change scaremongering. There's no other way to describe it. Children are being exposed to this propaganda. Of course, it comes from the UN, and it seems appalling to me that their immature emotions and are being exploited for political purposes. And I mean, with the UN, with its wildly overestimating warming and hyperbole from the Guterres of the UN.
Why do you think it's going to scare children?
It's all part of the narrative, isn't it?
But I mean,
the children of today are the adults of tomorrow.
Sure, but
and
60 years
if you
ago,
indoctrinate them.
Yeah, John. 60 years ago, the campaign for nuclear disarmament was threatening everybody with nuclear annihilation, which incidentally never happened. So they were, and back in the 1980s, the ladies of Greenham Common were saying that everybody was going to die a dreadful death, and that never happened. So children have always been subject to adults' foibles and adults presenting their fears onto children and visiting them on children. Do you think it's any more nowadays than it used to be with CND?
I mean, I lived through that period, so in the circles I moved in, the good ladies at Greenham Common were always ridiculed and whatever. But what is affecting the children now they're growing into adults. They're saying, why am I studying? Why should I just give up studies because we're all going to be dead in 20 years, and they say, well, we can't bring children into a world that's heading for a thermal apocalypse. And of course, this is bred organisations like Just Stop Oil and whatever. They've been so indoctrinated with this alarmism and scaremongering, and of course the media are complicit. They love publishing all these scaremongering stories and whatever because supposedly it sells newspapers. But the scaremongering is certainly affecting the younger people. And I mean, a young lad, member of one of these eco-activist organisations, I can't remember which one it was, killed himself because in total despair at the way the country was, the whole world was going to implode as a ball of fire in 20 or 25 years or something. So not only is it affecting the lives of the children with anxiety about this, but it's also starting to kill them. So we need a balanced argument.
Okay, all right, John.
We need to know the pros and the cons.
I appreciate
and
that.
The kids need to do that.
Okay, thanks for that, John. I'll find out tomorrow because we're live with the children. I say children, they're students, they're adults really, 16 and 17-year-olds at Castle Rushen High School. So we'll see what they make of it all and whether or not young people's mental health is being affected by sort of catastrophizing things like this. Juan's with us now. Hi, Juan.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. I was just going to say about the new setup of the races and stuff like that. Just the opinion of the people that I had staying with me. It was just that everything was so rushed. They didn't have time to visit the island. They didn't have time to go to Laxey and I think that maybe businesses, I know Laxey isn't a business, but businesses like that may have missed out because the whole time was filled with racing. So the point they made is they didn't get to see much of the Isle of Man as much as they used to because every day was filled with racing.
Right, but I mean, there wasn't as much racing on the particular. They didn't cram, 2 or 3 races in on lots of days, did they? Like they used to do.
Yeah. I mean, the days were dragged out. There was delays for this, that, and the other, But yeah, that was just the point they made, And the days off they had was replenishing stocks. You know what I mean? They got off the grandstand a couple of days, but yeah, it wasn't much of a holiday for them to see the Isle of Man. It was all just seeing the racing. And I know that's what a lot of people come over to do. But
and what's your opinion, Juan?
I can see where they're coming from. Yeah, it did. I mean, but like this year, like you said, this year was a complete different kettle of fish with the weather we had.
Oh, I think we've been lulled into a false sense of security with the weather. I mean, if we'd had 2 or 3 bad days, it could have been completely different.
Yeah, but you can never plan for that anyway. It's just one of them. So, yeah, that's the only point I was going to say. But then also about the mining, as if we're going to be able to mine anything over here now with the government and planning and stuff like that. We can't even ride motorbikes around mines. Imagine if we started trying to dig some more soil out of the ground, and then all that dust would end up down Peel Harbour as well. And then, oh my goodness, imagine.
Can you imagine? All right, thanks, Juan.
Can you imagine? All right, I'll speak to you later.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. And Bonzo's on now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello, yes, I can see we've got back to our usual setup after 2 weeks of TT with half an hour of the Julian, Juan and now John, the Conspiracy Theorist Broadcasting Corporation, which is yet more repetition, yet more utter twaddle.
By definition, I think, Bonzo, they're probably saying that, I don't want to put words in the mouth, but you're one of the elite representing the World Economic Forum, driving us towards a net zero heaven.
Well, would that I were, because I haven't seen the paychecks for it. So again, that's another load of complete and utter codswallop. But one of the things I really noticed, of course, in both their calls and John's call, was the sneering misogyny towards Daphne Kane and Joni Farragher. The green goddess, her silly schemes, Joni Farragher wittering on about things.
Well, presumably they'd say the same if it was a man, don't you think?
No. I think if you go back, listen to the stuff again, listen to their comments on such things on various other occasions, no, it's pretty disgraceful, really. How both Daphne Kane and Joni Farragher are treated, let alone anyone else who has the temerity to question the absurd right-wing conspiracy theory nonsense. And if you want to know where some of this rubbish comes from, you can go to BBC Sounds, where there's a most excellent podcast series that's just come online called Mariana in Conspiracy Land, which is hosted by a woman called Mariana Spring, who is the BBC's disinformation correspondent. And in her travels around various conspiracy theories emanating from, it's focused on a particular town, Totnes in Devon, where they seem to have grown up like topsy. You will find all the references to, the Bill and Melinda Gates vaccine conspiracy, the World Economic Forum, the Great Replacement, all this kind of utter trash. Like I seem to remember Juan citing two news sources who he recommended, one of whom was a website called Parler, which was, it's kind of part of the sort of QAnon darker web, and it was a website mainly used by people such as the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, who people might remember were Trump's stormtroopers who led the storming of the US Congress. So these are the kind of ideas that these people spread as a supplement to what initially might sound a bit reasonable. Climate change, it's a bit cold now, isn't it? Well, tell that to the Chinese, who are now baking in 43, 44 degree heat. Tell that to the people in Karachi and other places who are going to be hit by a grade 5 cyclone in about 24 hours. The evidence is absolutely striking, and it is there. And to just dismiss it as climate change. Now, the term climate change was coined by an official of George W. Bush's, because they didn't want to frighten the horses of the oil, gas and coal industries, who were big sponsors for the Republican Party. So, they kept an eye on those donations and said, we can't call it climate damage, we can't call it a climate crisis. No, right. Global warming, yeah, that sounds good. So that's how that term came to be. What we are now in is, as you can see in China, as you can see with Karachi, as you can see with floods, as you can see with the forest fires in Canada that are now drifting smoke down into the east coast of the eastern coast cities of the United States. As you can see, that climate damage, it's real, it's now, and it's getting worse, and we need to do something about it.
Okay, all right, appreciate it. Thanks for calling today. Good to hear from you, Bonzo. It's 4 minutes to 1.
Roses are blooming at Ramsey Garden Centre, and with a variety of hanging baskets, summer bedding, fruit and ornamental trees, plus a full range of garden essentials, there's never been a better time to visit Ramsey Garden Centre. Open 7 days a week.
I began to struggle with the stairs, but I didn't want to leave our family home. So my daughter told me about Acorn Stair Lifts and their new showroom in Douglas. I was able to try the stair lifts and find the right one for me and the home I love. They were so friendly. The whole process was hassle-free, and they offered the whole package from installation to servicing. Choose the island's first choice for stair lifts. Acorn Stair Lifts, South Quay, Douglas.
Call Acorn Stair Lifts now on 672 414 or call into our Douglas showroom.
Facebook. It's a great way to keep informed and keep in touch. And for businesses, you want to see high numbers of good reviews? Well, at IM1 Car Centre, we'd like to thank our customers for their generous and kind comments, because we're proud to say that IM1 Car Centre has over 370 five-star reviews on Facebook. Customers know that we price our cars fairly, so visit us today on Facebook or at Domain Road, Douglas. IM1 Car Centre, the only island dealer with over 370 five-star customer reviews on Facebook.
That's it for Mannin Line today. A note in from AJ in Onken. Just listening to Mannin Line, I want to say, as a teenager, I announced I'd never have children as the world was a terrible place. I did have one child. She's a fabulous adult. I'm in my late 60s. That's it. Thanks to Howie on the phones today. So live from Castle Rushen High School tomorrow, back with an open line on Wednesday, and Sarah Maltby on Thursday.
WINT